There are two soccer betting strategies that win at extremely high rates, and almost nobody is using them correctly. The first one wins at 95% of the time, and the second one wins 85% of the time. Both are unders, both work across every major league, and both have made my tracker more consistent than any over bet I've ever placed. I'm going to show you exactly how to find both of these bets step by step. By the end of this video, you'll know which one to bet on based on your bankroll size, what odds to target, and how to filter the matches that qualify. So let's get into it. Most soccer bettors only look at overs. The over market is where the casual money goes because goals are exciting and the payouts feel reasonable. Every YouTube highlight reel features goals, right? Every fan watches hoping for goals, so bettors gravitate towards the overs. This creates massive opportunity on the underside. Here's what most people don't understand about soccer scoring. The average match across the European leagues finished around 2.6 to 2.8 total goals. That means the under 3.5 hits at roughly 65% league-wide, and the under 4.5 hits at roughly 85% league-wide. These are baseline averages without any filtering. When you start filtering for specific match conditions, those numbers go way up. The right defensive matchup pushes under 4.5 to 95%, and pushes under 3.5 to 85%. And because most bettors are chasing overs, the underside often has subtle inefficiencies that you can exploit. And I'm going to show you the filter system that gets you to those win rates. Now, before I show you the system, you need to understand what each bet does and when to use which one. So first, let's go ahead and write down the under 4.5 goals. Now, the win rate for this, we're going to put at 95%. That's our target win rate, which is crazy because it's almost near perfect, right? But for under 4.5 goals, the match must finish with 4 few total goals. The only way you lose this match is if they score 5 plus, okay? An L equals 5 plus goals. That's a pretty wide window. And it's rare because most matches will stay under that 4.5 range. Hence the reason why the hit rate that we're targeting is so high. Now let's go ahead and talk about the under 3.5 goals. And our target hit rate for that is going to be 85%. With this play right here, obviously 4 plus is where it's going to be an L. All right, we're going to take an L if they score more than 4 goals. Now this still wins most of the time as well, but slightly more vulnerable to high scoring outliers. Now the price difference between these two bets are pretty significant actually. Your minus 4.5 goals can range from minus 1,000 to minus 2,000. As for your under 3.5, can range from minus 250 to minus 450. So which one of these do you bet on? Well, it depends on your bankroll. Under 4.5 requires you to risk more money to win less, obviously, because the bet hits so often. Under 3.5 has better individual unit economics, but loses more often. I'll show you how to size each one of these correctly a little bit later in the video. For now, let me show you how to find the matches that actually qualify. Here's the 4 criteria that I use to qualify these bets. Same filters for both. By the time all 4 line up, you've got a match that hits under 4.5 at 95% and under 3.5 at 85% based on my track data for years. So let's go ahead and get to step 1. Step 1 is going to be that you need both teams to have a scoring average under 1.5 goals per game. This is your fundamental feature. Pull up each team's season stats. Look at goals scored per match. Both teams need to be averaging fewer than 1.5 goals per game. This filter eliminates the high scoring teams in every league, like Manchester City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG. These teams average 2 plus goals per game, and they will blow up your unders bets. The teams you're looking for are mid-table to bottom-table sides with limited offensive output. Think of teams like Crystal Palace, Burnley, Sevilla, Strasbourg, teams that struggle to score consistently. Now I'm going to tell you exactly a little bit later in the video how you can find this stuff in literally seconds. But let's go ahead and get on to step 2. Now let's get to step 2 here. Step 2, both teams must concede less than 1.5 goals per game. Now this is the defensive filter. Pull up each team's defensive stats, goals conceded per match. Both teams need to be allowing fewer than 1.5 goals per game. Now, why both? Because if even one team has a leaky defense, the other team's offense gets a free pass to score. You need both teams to actually defend well. What this does is this eliminates teams with awful defenses, like Sheffield United on a bad year, Mainz, or even Almere. These teams concede 2 plus goals per match, and they will turn even a low-scoring opponent into a goal-scoring machine. If both teams concede under 1.5 goals, then you will pass step 2. Now let's break down step 3. Step 3 You need the last 10 matchups head to head, okay, to have hit the under. For 4.5, you need 9 out of 10, and for 3.5, we're looking for 8 out of 10. So for in the last 10 head-to-head matchups between the teams, we need if we're looking at the 4.5, we need 90% of the time when they go against each other, they go under the number of 4.5. And then if we're looking at 3.5, then we need 80% of the time, okay? So 90% and 80% of the time head-to-head for it to go under the designated number that we're looking at. Now this is your historical confirmation. Some matchups consistently produce low-scoring games because of stylistic clashes. Two defensive teams playing each other tend to play tight, cautious games. A team known for parking the bus against a counter-attacking team produces low-scoring matches because nobody is taking risks. The head-to-head trend tells you whether this specific matchup actually plays out as a low-scoring affair historically. Without this filter, you might bet a low-scoring matchup that surprisingly produces a 4-3 thriller because the styles don't actually clash. But if the head-to-head matchup does support the under, then you've passed step 3. Now let's go ahead and get to the last step here. Step 4, both teams' recent form must align. So what you want to do is you want to pull up each team's last 5 matches. Count how many times they finished under your target line, whether it be for under 4.5 or for under 3.5. This filter catches teams in current form. A team might have a season average of 1.3 goals, but if they've scored 3 goals in each of their last 5 matchups, something has changed. Maybe a new striker, maybe a new tactical setup. Recent form trumps season averages when there's a clear trend. But if both teams have been hitting the unders recently, then you're going to pass step 4. When all 4 steps line up, then you bet it. When they don't, then you walk away. Now let's go ahead and use a live example here. All right, so for the live example, what I'm going to use is going to be Sevilla versus Getafe. So if we look at step 1 here, Sevilla averages 1.2 goals per game. Getafe averages 0.9 goals per game. So we passed step 1 here. Now let's talk about step 2. Sevilla concedes 1.3 goals per game. Getafe concedes 1.4 goals per game. So that passes step 2. Let's go ahead and get to step 3 now. In the last 10 meetings between these two, they have finished under 4.5 100% of the time and under 3.5 90% of the time. This is one of the lowest scoring matchups in La Liga because both teams play tight defensive systems with limited transition play. Now let's get to step 4, which is recent form. Sevilla's last 5 have all went under 4.5, which is 100%. And then under 3.5 and under 3.5, 80% of the time. So that needs actually a little bit of work there. But let's look at Getafe. Under 4.5, 100% of the time. Then under 3.5, 100% of the time as well. So this kind of makes up for the 80% on Sevilla. So this actually ends up passing as well. So with all 4 filters lining up, this right here would be a qualifying match. Now we got to check the price on what the price would be for under 4.5 and under 3.5. Well, the under 4.5 for this matchup right here would be minus 1,000. And then the minus 3.5 here will be minus 380. Both in this situation are bettable, both sides. But notice the pattern of what I just showed you there. Both qualifying bets that I just showed you are between mid-table teams, known for defensive structure and limited offensive output. So like Burnley versus Crystal Palace in the Premier League, Sevilla versus Getafe, what we just showed in La Liga. These aren't the matchups highlight reels are made of, but these are the matchups that hit under 4.5 at 95% and under 3.5 at 85%. Now here's the question I told you guys we'd get to later. Well, how do you find those type of matchups and make it easy on yourself rather than having to go through tons of data and spend hours doing it? Well, I developed an AI system that you could use to literally get these answers within 10 to 20 seconds. All you have to do is be able to put in the prompt for this specific bet and it'll spit out which ones that meet that criteria. If you want access to that, make sure you guys click the link in the description. Now let's go ahead and get to which line you should actually bet, okay? So which line? The answer really depends on your bankroll and what your goals are. To bet the under 4.5 consistently, your bankroll should be over $5,000. And this is the bet where you want to make if you want the maximum consistency and you want something that's going to be predictable income basically. Because in this area, you're comfortable risking a lot of money to make a little bit of money. Because at this level, you're going to be playing the long game with compounding. The unit economics are tough because at minus 2,000 or minus 1,000 or however much the under 4.5 is going to be, you're not going to profit much off of your bet, but the 95% win rate makes the math work over hundreds and thousands of bets. This is for experienced bettors with serious bankrolls who understand the long game. Now, for the under 3.5, this could be for bankrolls under 5,000, because this is if you want better individual unit economics and you're comfortable with more frequent losses, but you're focused on building your bankroll faster. Because let's say, for example, at minus 350, a $30 unit profits only about $8.57 per win. Much more meaningful per bet return. The 85% win rate produces more variance, but the wins are bigger. And this is usually the choice for like the average sports bettor. But you could also bet both if your bankroll allows it and you want maximum portfolio diversification. You can bet under 4.5 as your safety net and under 3.5 as your value play on the same match. They're highly correlated. So when one wins, the other usually wins too. But they're not perfectly correlated. A 4-1 final loses the under 3.5 bet, but a 4-1 final loses the under 3.5 bet, but wins you the under 4.5. So this strategy lets the under 4.5 absorb some of the variance from the under 3.5. In all cases, make sure you size at 2 to 3% of your total bankroll per bet. Not 5%, not 10%, but 2 to 3. Now, where do we find these bets at? What sportsbooks do we look at? Okay, these markets are on mostly every sportsbook. You just have to look for under total goals or match goals or the over-under, the alternate over-under. Okay, usually it's on DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars, Bet365. All of them usually offer both of those lines. On the prediction markets, you could use Polymarket, Kalshi, they have those as well. The under 4.5 goals sometimes is hidden under the alternate line section because it's not the standard 2.5 line that most casual bettors look at. So click the alternate totals to be able to find it. And it's usually labeled clearly. Same thing goes for the under 3.5. If you're going to find the under 4.5, you'll probably find the under 3.5 right next to it. So for the qualifying matchups, you could either do the research, which will probably take you per match, probably about 45 minutes to an hour to be able to find, or you could use my AI system that I have made that literally will pump this out in seconds. Like I said, all you got to do is click the link in the description. But all in all, 2 soccer under bets that I just showed you, one with a 95% win rate on the under 4.5, 85% win rate on the under 3.5. Same 4-step filter. It's not glamorous. You're betting on boring matches between mid-table teams, not exactly a viral highlight, but my tracker shows profit, and that's all that really matters. But I also have a video for over 1.5 goals as well that hit at an 87% rate. If you want to watch that video next, make sure you guys go and check that out, because it's the same approach, but just a different bet. As always, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.